Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only ICP. All right. If you know me, then you know I am also fairly high on this coin. And before we dive into the technical analysis, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the activity that ICP has seen in the last 30 days. So we can see new activity peak for Dfinity, which is ICP. Yesterday, ICP processed 1,010 transactions per second, the highest daily TPS in the past 30 days. So we see block range between, let's just say, practically it's just more or less like 21 million, right? So we can see this nice block range, real usage, real scale, and no signs of slowing it down. All right. So look, that is very, very good, right? You obviously want your coin, your platform, whatever it is, always to be active, right? That is just the reality. And, I do have high hopes for this coin, despite its weaker price action compared to some other altcoins in the last, couple of weeks, right? Because yes, like here's the thing, right? It has recovered a decent amount, but it's only recovered roughly, 20% in the last few weeks, and it only peaked at 36%, from this bottom when everything kind of started to recover. So, it's not the most ideal. It's not the most ideal, but you gotta remember every coin does have its time. Okay. Like, ICP in November pumped up a lot, right? It pumped up a lot, and it is going to pump a lot, like I mean a lot, this cycle. I am super excited about it, right? We called out, in videos in the community, to be buying roughly around 460 was the buy price. Literally perfect, right? So if you bought anywhere in this range from like 440 to 460, then congratulations. I believe we will not be seeing this price once again, because I do believe there's going to be very quick pumps over the next little bit. Okay, I genuinely do believe that. One of the reasons, ladies and gentlemen, is that Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin is set to explode. I haven't really talked about this on the ICP videos, but I'm going to talk about it now, right? Global liquidity. Okay, the settings I have on, we have very accurate data suggesting that we have a 91-day delay from global liquidity. Okay. If we take the measuring tool and we take it from the top of the global liquidity before things start to go down, we can see 91 days as the last green candle. Boom. If we take it from the bottom of global liquidity, we stretch it out 91 days as the last red candle. Now we, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of global liquidity, are right here, right? We are right here, right? We're right here before the big expansion. So let's see where that is, right? Boom, right? Take it from the bottom, go out. We can see we're at 91 days. So I expect next week Bitcoin to start pumping. I expect things to be, going really fast, really well, according to the global liquidity, according to the candles, according to how bullish we are, news all around the world too. So if that's going to be pumping, then things like ICP and everything are going to be pumping as well. Okay. I still, this is not the altcoin season, right? This is not necessarily altcoin season. We're not going to go up $20 right away, but we are going to start pumping, and we are going to start getting to key areas. So if we look at the chart, right, what I believe overall over the next few weeks is going to be happening is a nice pump from 540, right, which we're roughly at right now, to, roughly, 720. We're probably going to slow down a little bit. But then, ladies and gentlemen, once we get past this zone, to be honest, the next zone that kind of would slow us down is going to be roughly $10. So I do expect ICP over the next couple of weeks to double in price. Okay, I genuinely do. Also, right, if we go and take a trend line, which I know some people are skeptical about trend lines, but trust me, they do work in crypto. That is the one thing I love about trend lines and crypto, is that they work really well. We can see, right, we are most likely going to do something like this, go off this trend line, probably sell off a little bit. But then once we get past this trend line, we are going to start going up really fast. And the reason why I say this is because this has happened actually multiple times, right? We can see in the past when we had a pump, practically, I think it was like 2024, right? 2023, beginning of 2024, right? We could see that, we also had something very, very similar, right? Where we were at the bottoms, then we all of a sudden pumped up, right? We were respecting the trend line, then we're going sideways a little bit above the trend line, and then we just exploded. So that's what I mean, right? That's what I mean. This is going to be literally the blueprint for ICP. And, I do not expect any less. Now, in terms of overall price prediction, I do believe this coin at the bare minimum is going to be one of those coins between 35 and 45 billion market cap. Okay. So, even right now, if we were to 10x, we'd be roughly at 29 billion market cap, which would put us at, $53.70. So I do expect this coin overall at the minimum to 10x. And that would still be like worst case scenario. But 10x is honestly not that bad, right? If you have like 30 grand and you 10x it, you just made, 270,000 profit. So it's very, very good. Very, very nice. I expect very good things and big things from crypto and ICP over the next few months. But I do think this coin, like I said, would probably go up a little bit higher, right? I do think, we could be reaching $70 fairly easily, even just in terms of technical analysis, right? We do have a couple key areas we are going to have to be looking out for in the future. This $32 weekly order block is one of them. Then we have another weekly order block roughly around just sub $50. And, boom, there we go. We have a very nice key order block up here, which is, in the mid 70s, which I talked about it being very, very realistic, right? So I do expect this coin to go into this institutional bank candle because this is all manipulation. So I would expect this coin at the bare minimum, in my opinion, to get manipulated at least to $75. Now, can this coin go higher? Absolutely. I do believe, especially if there's a double pump or there's more money than expected, or, just a lot of things line up. I do think this coin could be one of those coins that peaks at that 70 to 80 billion market cap. Now, I said peaks. That doesn't mean it's going to stay there long, right? Because it could peak at 70, 80 billion and then drop off 20% within a couple hours. But I do think that's the case. And if that were the case, we'd be looking at roughly a 30x, which would be like $160 to $170. I've talked about this before. I do think this coin could hit $180 this cycle, but there are a few variables, right? There are a few variables and they would have to line up. And possibly there would have to be a double pump involved, okay? But that is never promised. That is never promised. So, that is more Moon Boy, but it's also in the realistic realm. But my first key target would be that $75 zone. Hopefully this all makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should have, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.